northern town in Chihuahua, Mexico, has some mob justice going on, some mob justice action. So a group of about 200 people got together to find 6 kidnappers, okay? These kidnappers went into a seafood restaurant and kidnapped a 16-year-old girl. So what the mob did is they went out looking for them. The military was able to find 3 of the kidnappers. The other 3 got away and they ran into cotton fields. The mob chased them into cotton fields. They found one of the kidnappers dead. The other 2 they beat up until local police picked them up and took them to a military base. Yeah. Then the mob went to the military base, waited until gates opened. They rushed in and beat the 2 men up again.
Okay, now look. This is old school. This is like Wild Wild West stuff, right?
Then those 2 guys got on a school bus.
No, they don't get that started again. No, actually, what happened to 2 guys afterwards is terrible. Then they put them in a hot car for 7 hours, didn't let anybody attend to them, and then they died in the car. Okay, so dying from their wounds, etc.
The 16-year-old girl was saved.
That is true.
Oh shit! Yeah. I thought you were kidding.
No, that's what happened. So they weren't playing, right?
No, that's the worst. That's my I can't.
Yeah, look. So this story has 2 sides to it. That on the one hand, these effing kidnappers, and they come in, and apparently they were averaging 3 kidnappings, a week?
Per week.
Per week in this just small town, right? A town of 15,000 people. And so the town people just had enough, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to come and snatch your 16-year-old daughter again? Well, now you're not coming for us. We're coming for you, right?" And then that's why they chase them into the fields, they beat the crap out of them, they storm the office, et cetera, et cetera. So I have enormous sympathy for the town, right? At the same time, obviously you can't do this, right? I mean, maybe you could chase them into the fields and beat them, but then watching them die in the car, there's a reason why we got rid of vigilante justice. There's a reason why we don't do the Wild Wild West anymore. And it's not the right way to go, so I'm torn on it. But boy, do I have sympathy for the town and the anger and the rage that built in that town. And a lot of people in that mob that was chasing them out, previously their family members had been killed.
One of the reasons why the death penalty drives me crazy, such an understatement. Why I think it's so wrong is I understand this more. It's hideous. You can't do that. I agree. But they're caught up in the moment. They're like, you kidnapped this woman. We're going after you. And then they're reacting with anger. It's worse that they left him in there for 7 hours, let him die, but they are still reacting with anger in the immediacy of the moment. Teresa Lewis committed this murder when? Back in 2000?
2002.
Right? Back in 2002. We've had 8 years to calm down.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you can't lock people. First of all, I'd rather get shot in the head than locked in a car for 7 hours in the heat.
And dying of your wounds after being severely beaten.
Or I assume they died in the hot vehicle. I assume that they
could be heat exhaustion.
Heat exposure.
Yeah. What's your take on it, Casper?
I feel a tremendous amount of sympathy for the people in the town. Okay. There are people who were victimized. Their families have been victimized by these individuals, kidnapping members of their families. Who knows what they do after they kidnap them? I'm guessing that these might be members of the drug cartels. In that case, they were probably murdered. Look, if they feel like the local authorities are not doing enough to protect their town, and if you're living in fear, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue living in fear, or are you going to take action? They took action, and part of me really wants to root for them.
These are 2, by the way, the 2 guys who died in the car, 2 17-year-old boys.
Right, but that's the thing. I mean, of course, in the beginning, you're rooting for the town. You're like, oh, thank God they're fighting back. And, who's on the side of the drug cartels? Of course, no one, right? And God knows what they're going to do with the girl. And by the way, they at least achieved their objective. They got the girl totally unharmed. They got her back, okay? But letting those 17-year-old kids die in that car, you can't have it. So it's a story that kind of rips you up.
Can't have it, and some people responsible for it need to go to prison.
Yeah, my guess is that's probably not going to happen. What did happen was the 14 cops in that town were all fired. Now, what I couldn't get
by the way, I think that's what Mexico needs, is fewer police officers.
Well, at least police officers who do their job. But
No,
what's interesting is I couldn't get a handle on why they were fired, whether they were fired because they let the guys take the boys from inside the jail, or if they got fired because there's effing 3 kidnappings a week. God,
Well,
I mean, what are you going to do anything about it?
Either way. I mean, like it's a combination of what are you going to choose to investigate?
Right.
Like, how are you going to handle this? There's another kidnapping. Oh, look at them drag the kidnappers out like a bunch of vigilantes. What do you want to do today?